And each one of this can only be done when it's accountable. So I'm not opening my mobile again, but I can tell you what was the coal production yesterday. We are at 10% growth this year. Has any of you ladies and gentlemen in this room imagined that Coal India could produce 10% growth in the first 4 months, which includes the rain months? And effectively, and one more good news which I got as soon as I landed at Kolkata airport. I think I have too many Bengalis in my whole system. So Arun Roy Chaudhary calls me up as soon as I land and says, congratulations. I said, for what? NTPC yesterday had the highest power generation for the current year since 1st April 2015. Some 739. And of course he sends me an SMS every single day telling me what has been the output. And then the Power Ministry sends me a message which is the national output of coal-based power, gas-based power. Renewables is not yet onto it. I think we still need to get renewables into the government. But I'm not perfect. We are working towards it. We are all agglomerating data. But only that data which can be put to use and which can effectively be worked upon. So I know that in the last 18 or 20 days, coal production has been actually a little lower than what our target is. So 10% is great for the first 4 months, but it's slightly lower than what it was in the first 4 months. But we've been monitoring, so with the message I get to know, in NCL there was a bump, so today the number of rakes loaded are less. In ECL we had Eastern Coalfields Limited, there was heavy rains yesterday, so production was a little down. And if any single day the number of rakes falls below 200, my good friend and leader Mr. Suresh Prabhu knows he's going to get a call from me. Why are the railways not giving us enough rains? So effectively, this strategic plan that we all made is only going to be as good as we are holding people accountable to it. And all of you monitor my performance and my team's performance. And every citizen of this country has a right on all of us. We still are public servants. I don't know how much of that public servant sense still prevails amongst government and government officials and politicians. But I do believe that the time has come where politicians, bureaucrats and all of us, be it in industry, be it service providers, will have to be accountable for the work we do, will have to have an objective that the national good comes first before we think of ourselves. A couple of other issues before I move on the management principles. We prioritize issues where the major focus has to be. We have partnership with all stakeholders. So it does not matter what political ideology or what party a state government may be. The important thing is that we all work towards a common purpose to deliver service to the people of India. So our partnerships with all stakeholders are on equal footing. And only yesterday, to give you an example, I was in Bengaluru doing the review of the power sector of Karnataka, which is run by a Congress government. And in the course of the review, it came to my notice that certain mines which they have in Maharashtra, which were allotted by me, a member of parliament from Maharashtra, were given to Karnataka. And don't even remind me about the angst and the problems I had faced after that allotment. But those mines had some operational difficulty. And from that meeting I called up the Honourable Minister there. And he has assured to help and resolve all those problems and get those mines started so coal can move to Karnataka. That is the spirit of partnership and the spirit of Team India that we are all working on. Of course, I already mentioned to you about our technology focus and our focus to reduce paperwork and red tapeism through the minimum government, maximum government governance initiative. And lastly, a subject which is very dear to me as a chartered accountant, in all of this, we are looking at innovative ways innovative ways to finance these projects, innovative ways to keep costs down, innovative financing options to sort out the problems of the discoms of the country. And all these management principles put together are being the strategy that we have embarked upon, and to which I am sure your conference today will add greater value and will give us better ideas and more out-of-the-box thoughts which we can integrate into our strategy. In fact, over the last 1 year, our whole effort has been to take a systems approach. So be it the fuel supply, be it generation of power, transmission of power, the problem at the distribution end, the discoms, problems of the consumers. After all, they want proper quality power. They don't want intermittent power. They want power at the right price. Honest consumers don't want to pay for the power theft or for the huge losses that some of these discoms or the state utilities may do. So all of these are being integrated together into a systems approach, and the system is being created through a proper synthesis after analyzing what the problem, what the issues are. So it's an analysis and synthesis based approach which brings out the holistic way forward to resolve the challenges that this sector has faced in the past that were inherited by this government and which to some extent have been significantly improved, I would say, and at the end of which today I can say with a little bit of satisfaction that the country has surplus power and surplus coal as we speak today. We have challenges that are not able to transmit some of that surplus power. But transmission is something I cannot resolve in 12 or 13 months. It is a more longer term effort for which in the current year alone we are going to build out 1 lakh crores of transmission lines. South, which has a perennial problem, we will add not only 2000 megawatt in the next 3 or 4 months, but we are also embarking on a 6000 megawatt additional transmission capacity to South India. So again, each of these issues is being looked at in its silo, but also as an integrated whole. And this situation, coal, Manishji rightly mentioned, is still being imported. But mind you, what are the components of that import? Coking coal, there is a shortage in India. We don't have enough coking coal as yet. But I already have CMPDIL working to see if we can explore new coking coal mines. I am already in touch with Raghubar Das, the Honorable Chief Minister of Jharkhand, and the last meeting was as recently as 1 week ago, where he has committed to me that a mission mode program will be initiated to solve the Jharia coalfields fire problem, not only on humanitarian grounds so that that fire stops and the people's lives are safeguarded, but also because there is coking coal in that area, which will become an import substitute. Some of the imports today are old forward contracts, which are petering out. So NTPC, for example, has not signed a single import contract in the country. Some of the coal is coming in from earlier contracts and will taper off. My own suspicion and confidence, I would say, is that going forward, except for the coastal plants, where I may have a challenge to transport or evacuate the coal from the coal mines up to the port-based coal thermal plants, and where considering very low import prices of coal, it may be more viable to import the coal keeping consumer interests in mind. Other than that, India will not need to import any thermal coal in the years to come. And my hundreds of thousands of employees and workers, be it the chairman, be it the last worker, the unskilled worker of Coal India Limited, and the other companies working towards it, be it Navy Lignite, be it Singrauli Collieries, all of them, and the private sector companies will now start mining out of the mines that were auctioned out, and the state governments who have their own mines. I am confident that the workmen, the management of these coal mine operators has the ability, has the capacity to produce enough coal to serve the needs of India and are determined to do so. And ladies and gentlemen, we are at this point of time as we speak working to create a framework which will ensure equitable distribution of coal to all stakeholders, power plants, cement plants, steel plants, aluminium plants. We want to make sure everybody gets adequate coal, but through a transparent, honest, equitable way, not where we give friends and relatives and colleagues a preference for one over the other. And that is really the end objective, which is most essential, because without that kind of transparency and honesty coming into the system, all our objectives will remain mere slogans and will remain mired in controversies. Therefore, the effort in all the actions that this team is doing is to bring in the highest level of transparency, probity, and make our systems corruption-free. In fact, when I talk of analysis, and we are trying to solve the problems after those analyses, you have to find the dots and then connect the dots into the solution. So unless we know what the problems are, we cannot connect the problems into a sustainable solution. And how do we find solutions when we are able to locate the problems? Just this morning at the airport we had one more meeting before I came. We had DVC, we had, I was there, and we had NTPC on the phone line. Now DVC has certain challenges, certain problems which it is grappling with. NTPC has certain futuristic plans for which it needs to expand. West Bengal and Jharkhand are the two principal stakeholders of Damodar Valley Corporation. It's one of the oldest power companies in this country, and it continues to serve West Bengal and Jharkhand in a very significant manner. But over the years, for a variety of reasons, the company has had problems. So we were on the phone with NTPC, DVC, discussing and sorting out how we can create a win-win framework for DVC, get it out of the red into making profits, for NTPC to meet its growth objectives, for West Bengal and Jharkhand to ensure that their distribution companies also don't have to have the loss or the stress of DVC supplying to the high-value HT consumers and the state government being saddled with the problem of the relatively lower-paying domestic consumers. And I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, the half an hour we spent at the airport this morning, we have come up with a sustainable framework which will be announced in the days to come, by which DVC, it's something we are all proud of. It's a company which was started soon after independence, if I am not mistaken, in the early 50s probably, or 49 and thereabouts, will once again become a jewel of India, and will start not only being profitable, but being able to serve the people of West Bengal and Jharkhand in a much better fashion. So this is how we are looking at this integrated synthesis or connecting the dots when problems come before the government of India. Of course, I've said a lot about the fuel supply issues, but clearly that has been a focus area, be it in coal where we auctioned out all these mines in the most transparent manner, in a time-bound manner, and that several lakh crore rupees, over 3 lakh crore rupees in the next 25-30 years, the life of the mine, is money that will not come to the government of India. All the effort, in fact, sometimes my officials used to tell me, sir, we are working almost 24/7 during that critical auction period, but not 1 rupee is going to come to the central government treasury. Everything is going to go to the states, and West Bengal is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of all that auction and mines given to the states. But again, that's the spirit That's the spirit of cooperation, collaboration. That's the cooperative federalism that the government of India is working for. And with that spirit, that entire auction process took place. Coal India is increasing production. Now whenever I have an issue in West Bengal, I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, be it the Honorable Minister, be it the Chief Minister of the state, be it the officials, the Chief Secretary, I get some very good reports about the cooperation that your officials give to our companies. And that is what we'll have to, that spirit is what we'll have to inculcate to be able to serve the people. We can do politics separately, but when it comes to economics, when it comes to service, we all will have to work in a spirit of cooperation and collaboration. Similarly on gas, I inherited more than 20,000 megawatts of stalled and stranded and loss-making gas plants. But we were able to create a framework, again, through a reverse bidding transparent process and equal opportunity for all gas-based plants to get gas in a manner by which they can provide power to the consumers in a subsidized way, in a relatively lower cost and affordable cost. Of course, renewables has been a focus area of this government. We have reset the renewables agenda, where we are looking at a five-fold growth from 34,000 megawatts to 1,75,000 megawatts in the next 7 years. And ladies and gentlemen, you'll be happy to know this will be the largest and most ambitious program for clean energy anywhere in the world, and we stand committed to achieving it. West Bengal is playing an important role in that. In fact, I would like to acknowledge the pump storage idea that Minister Gupta had articulated in the Power Ministers Conference in Guwahati has caught the imagination of the policymakers in the Government of India. And almost with every state that I go and review, I discuss what is the potential to try and use nighttime power, low-cost power, and create pump storage and have enough peaking power to balance the growth of the renewable sector in the country. Of course, we have finalized a new ultra-mega power plant bidding document. The UMPPs were all stuck because of a stalemate between bankers and policymakers and investors, which I'm happy to inform all of you has been resolved. And we have come up with another set of documents which have largely been welcomed by all stakeholders. And I do see that in the days to come, helping us in a plug-and-play mode to bid out 5 new UMPPs in the next few months, and in an overall context, 12 new UMPPs in the next couple of years. And this will add the significant generation capacity that Minister Gupta was referring to. Nuclear is an engagement that Prime Minister Modi himself is leading. You are all aware we have been able to secure adequate fuel supply from Australia and Canada. We have been able to have very productive and fruitful engagement on the technology front with France. Discussions are on with other countries, and I am very confident that in the days to come, the country will see more and more nuclear energy which will provide long-term, sustainable and affordable power to the people. And amongst all of this, coal-based power plants, which are the mainstay of India. And I am on record several times to say that this will be the base load power for India. And we are not yet at a stage where we can wish away thermal power, much as some of the Western world may like us to do. After all, most of the Western developed countries have enjoyed the fruits of low-cost, affordable thermal power for the last 150 years. They have built their roads and ports and railways, airports, created large industrial infrastructure and given jobs to their people, given homes to all their people on the back of low-cost energy. And today, we are being talked about climate change, about the concerns of the environment, without the concerns of the poor of India being taken into account. So very often in my engagement with the Western world, I say we are very happy to do more and more of renewable energy and clean energy. But what is the support that the West gets? Nothing. Other than, well, the press is here and then the headline would be wrong, so I'll have to be very cautious in my words. But it's very easy to sermonize. That's a little more sober word. It's very easy to sermonize. But unless one practices what one preaches, it makes no sense to sermonize. So for the last 150 years you have coal as the mainstay of the developed world. They reach a level of development where their people have $40,000, $70,000 of per capita income. And they want the poor Indian with $2,000 of per capita income to stop using coal, because you won't finance coal anymore. You won't allow more new coal plants to come up, and you want him to pay 3 times the cost of power because of the concerns for the climate, which even today you are polluting. So as we speak, India's pollution, India's contribution to climate change is only 1/10 or 1/11 of what the United States does. Even as we speak today, our per capita emission, carbon emission, is amongst the lowest in the world. Despite that, we are conscious about the future generations. Another program the Prime Minister had articulated was zero defect, zero effect. He is conscious that we have to be concerned about the environment. It's an article of faith with him. It's an article of faith with the government of India, as it has to be for each of the well-meaning citizens of the country. Therefore, we stand committed to making this happen, with or without any support that the West may give us, the developed world may give us. We will make this happen. We'll make this happen using modern technology. We'll make this happen with transparency. And I'm sure you're all aware, solar power, which at one point started with 18 rupees, while it kept reducing over the years, but in the last few months has come down to the level of between 5 and 5.5 rupees per unit of solar power, thanks to a robust framework that was created, transparent bidding, and also the fact that we were able to scale up our ambitions. What we had said before the election as speed, skill and scale. So once you scale up your whole plan, you're able to enjoy the economies of scale. In fact, Ajay Mathur has benefited a lot in his energy efficiency program when he scaled up the LED procurement from the minuscule levels that it was at before. And in a short span of 9 or 10 months, we were able to bring down the procurement cost of a 7-watt LED bulb from 310 rupees before we came into government to the last procurement of price of 74 rupees per bulb. 310 has become 74. This is only 24% of what we were buying the same thing at 18 months ago or 16 months ago. But we brought transparency, we brought competition, no compromise on technical specs. So you have very big companies like Crompton and Philips and Surya, very reputed companies providing highest quality LED bulbs to the nation with warranties, but at 1/4 the price. So in the same manner, going forward, we're going to look at building out transmission lines, creating green energy corridors, making sure costs of the old system are kept reasonable, are kept under control, and the objective to keep power costs for the consumers of India, about whom I'm sure Pradeep ji will engage in the course of the day today. The entire objective is that every citizen is entitled, he has a right to get power, he has a right to get quality power, he has a right to get affordable quality power, round the clock, round the year, and not a right which is only a law or a slogan, but a right which is implemented through a proper strategy in place, through a robust framework, program, monitored, honest, corruption-free, and working towards a systematic plan which will take us to, as all of us desire, take us through leaving behind a good planet for the next generation, leaving behind a situation where I do hope, like my late father, no other child has to ever study under a street light ever again in the future. Thank you very much.
What can one say? Sir, we've noted the midst of the word affordable, a very important word in our theme. So we assure you that we'll bring out the proceedings which will send to both of you, sirs, and maybe, try and precipitate that fallout, organize a round tables. Sir, you did mention yourself you have a growing Bengali connect. And on that backdrop, we at the Bengal Chamber, ladies and gentlemen, would you please give him a standing ovation at this juncture? We now have a release of a publication of the Consumer Unity and Trust Society, and I would request our Assistant Directors, Anguna Roy Chaudhary and Babu Dutta to please carry through this small bit. May I now request our President, Dr. Alok Roy, to please, sorry.
Thank you very much.